April 7, 1945, 10:18 a.m. Southern Honshu, near Nagoya. The air is thin and cold at 25,000 feet. A distant roar grows fast. It is not the sound Japanese pilots expect. It is deeper, smoother, relentless. Silver shapes break through scattered cloud. Sunlight flashes off long wings, P-51 Mustangs. Anti-aircraft guns open fire from the airfield below. Black bursts climb, but fall short. Engines scream as Japanese fighters scramble. Mechanics dive for cover. Pilots run. Boots pound concrete. A warning bell rings too late. The Mustangs are already diving. Machine guns hammer. Tracers cut across hangars. Fuel trucks explode. Planes burn before they leave the ground. A Zero lifts off, slow and heavy. It never finishes its turn. A Mustang slides in behind it, calm, precise. 6 guns fire for 2 seconds. The Zero breaks apart in the air. Radio calls overlap in panic. Too fast. They stay with us. From everywhere. The attack lasts minutes. The damage lasts months. And this moment is only one small part of a much larger story. If you want more stories like this, make sure to subscribe, like, and share. The story of the Mustang begins far from Japan. In 1940, Britain was under siege. German bombers crossed the Channel daily. The Royal Air Force needed fighters fast. North American aviation answered with a bold promise. They would design and build a new fighter in record time. The first prototype flew in October 1940. It was sleek and fast at low altitude. But it had a problem. Its Allison engine lost power high up. Above 15,000 feet, it struggled. Everything changed when the British fitted a Rolls-Royce Merlin engine. The Merlin transformed the aircraft. It gave the Mustang power at altitude. Speed rose to over 400 miles per hour. Range stretched beyond anything fighters had seen before. The United States Army Air Forces took notice. By 1943, the P-51 entered service. Later models carried 650 caliber machine guns, each holding 400 rounds. The plane could climb fast and dive faster. Most important of all was range. With drop tanks, Mustangs could escort bombers deep into enemy territory. They could fly from England to Berlin and back. This solved a deadly problem. Before the Mustang, bombers went alone. Losses were heavy. Crews called it unescorted daylight suicide. The Mustang changed the math of air war. By late 1944, commanders looked even farther. Japan itself. The Mustang would soon arrive over the home islands. At first, many doubted the Mustang. Some pilots called it fragile. Others said it lacked punch compared to heavier fighters. Early training accidents did not help. Landing the Mustang was tricky. The long nose blocked forward view. New pilots ground looped planes on takeoff. One training report noted 6 accidents in 8 days. In combat, early tactics were wrong. Pilots tried tight turning fights. Against Japanese Zeros, this was dangerous. The Zero turned tighter at low speed. A pilot wrote after a 1944 clash over China, "I tried to turn with him. Big mistake." Another report stated, Mustang not suited for slow circling combat. Maintenance crews faced issues too. The Merlin engine was powerful but sensitive. Poor fuel caused knock and power loss. Dusty airfields in the Pacific damaged filters. Japanese pilots mocked the new fighter at first. They called it long wing. Some believed it was only good for bomber escort. One Japanese report claimed, enemy fighter avoids close combat. Losses in early Pacific encounters were modest, but noticeable. In 1 month, the 5th Air Force lost 11 Mustangs to combat and accidents. The aircraft had promise, but promise alone did not win air wars. Everything changed when pilots learned how to fight in the Mustang. Training shifted fast. Instructors drilled one rule above all others. Do not turn. The Mustang excelled in speed and energy. At altitude, it was faster than any Japanese fighter. Its top speed exceeded 430 miles per hour. It climbed well and dove even better. Pilots learned boom and zoom tactics. They attacked from above, one firing pass, then climb away. The Mustang could stay with the enemy through the dive and pull out safely. The Zero could not. At high speed, Japanese control stiffened. Wings failed above 400 miles per hour. Range also mattered. Mustangs could patrol 4 hours. They waited. They chose the moment. The 6 machine guns proved deadly. A 2-second burst put more than 3 pounds of metal into a target. Pilots aimed at engines and cockpits. Radio coordination improved. Flights worked in pairs. One attacked. One watched the sky. By early 1945, American pilots were confident. Loss rates dropped. Kill ratios climbed. The Mustang had found its role. Now it moved toward Japan itself. On January 27, 1945, Mustangs escorted B-29 bombers over Tokyo. It was the first fighter escort over the capital. The distance shocked Japanese defenders. Over 80 P-51s from Iwo Jima took part. They met more than 60 Japanese fighters. The sky filled with contrails and gunfire. A Mustang pilot recalled, "They came up hard. We stayed high. The Americans dove in sequence. Zeeks and Askers scattered. In 20 minutes, 15 Japanese fighters were destroyed. The Mustangs lost 3. The bombers reached targets intact. On March 10, 1945, Mustangs returned during the Great Tokyo Fire Raid. Smoke rose to 10,000 feet. Navigation was chaos. Pilots used rivers as guides. Japanese fighters attacked through smoke and flak. Visibility dropped to near zero. One Mustang clipped debris and lost oil pressure. The pilot stayed with his wingman until the coast. He later said, "I did not want to die alone." In April 1945, Mustangs began systematic airfield attacks at Nagoya, Kobe, and Kyushu. Each strike followed a pattern. Flights of 12 approached at altitude. To dove first, guns suppress flak, others followed. At Kanoe Air Base, home of kamikaze units, 30 Mustangs struck at dawn. Japanese pilots tried to launch. Runways were cratered, planes burned in rows. A Japanese officer wrote later, "The enemy fighter stayed above us, like a hunter." On August 7, 1945, near Kyushu, a final clash unfolded. 8 Mustangs met 12 Japanese fighters. Fuel was low on both sides. A young Japanese pilot pressed an attack head-on. The Mustang pilot held fire until 100 yards. Both planes fired. The Japanese fighter exploded. The Mustang returned with holes in the wings. The war was ending, but the lesson was clear. The Mustang's impact went beyond combat. Production surged. Over 15,000 P-51s were built. Factories ran day and night. Engines, guns, and parts flowed across oceans. Training programs expanded. Pilots logged over 200 hours before combat. Fuel and maintenance systems adapted. Iwo Jima became a vital base. Thousands of tons of supplies crossed the Pacific to support long-range missions. Japanese industry could not match this scale. Fuel shortages grounded fighters. Pilot training hours fell below 100. Some pilots flew combat after only 30 hours. The Mustang exploited this gap. It forced Japan to defend everywhere at once. No base was safe. Air superiority allowed bombers to operate freely. This accelerated the collapse of Japan's air defense network. The psychological effect was severe. Japanese pilots learned to fear the sound of the Merlin engine. Ground crews froze when silver shapes appeared. One diary entry read, "The long-wing fighter comes every day." Another noted, "We cannot escape upward or downward." American pilots felt the shift too. Confidence replaced caution. They called the Mustang a friend. Japanese slang called it the chasing devil. Morale fell as losses mounted. Some pilots refused to take off during Mustang patrols. The fear was rational. Survival odds dropped sharply once Mustangs arrived. Late in the war, the Mustang continued to evolve. The P-51D added a bubble canopy, visibility improved in all directions, rocket rails appeared for ground attack, pilots struck trains and ships. Range increased with better drop tanks, tactics shifted again. Mustangs hunted alone or in small groups. They roamed far from bases, maintenance improved. Engines ran longer between overhauls, reliability increased despite harsh conditions. By summer 1945, the Mustang was at its peak, fast, deadly, everywhere. By war's end, Mustangs destroyed thousands of enemy aircraft. In the Pacific, they helped cripple Japan's air power. Losses were real but acceptable. The aircraft that many doubted became decisive. An opposing Japanese veteran later said, "When the Mustang came, the sky belonged to America." The P-51 Mustang proved that range, discipline, and tactics could reshape a war.